Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Today we have a podcast with Tiffany Swift. But before we get into the podcast, we're gonna talk about a little bit what's going on in our world of podcasting. By now, by the time you see this, a lot of things would have happened. You would have already seen us change in season 4, and I've talked about it several times before this. So hopefully, you're up on everything that we have. Before we even get into the episode, guys, I might not have the energy like I usually have. I'm sick and I'm barely keeping it on. So hopefully you can hear everything I say. Hopefully I'm speaking clearly. Hopefully I'm not speaking too fast because I'm just trying to get it over with in a way. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not feeling the greatest. But come follow us on social media. Come follow us on our link tree. Not really follow us, but look in our link tree down below and you'll see everything that's linked towards Hear Our Voices podcast. I didn't even tell you that, guys. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices. That's how you know I'm not feeling the greatest because I feel like I've done better intros than this. But guys, please, just stay in tune. It's going to be a wonderful story. I don't know the story yet, but we're going to get into it right now. And if you want to be a person who's to be on the podcast, guys, definitely email us. Everything will be down below. If you want to talk to me personally, my contact information will be in the link tree. If not, if you just want to put your information out there to anybody on our team to listen or give you information on, you could definitely DM us on like Twitter or Instagram, something like that. If you're a person who wants to give only resources, we love that too, of course. Please go check that out. And let's get into the interview today. So, hi, Tiffany.
Hey, how are you? Well, you already said you're not
Right.
feeling well. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Um, I'm trying to take it one day at a time at this point, guys. Hopefully, I can edit all these coughs out, but if not, I think you'll understand, whoever's listening. So, Tiffany, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are in your life right now?
Where I am in my life, I live in New York City. I am 40. Gosh, I'm 43.
Wow.
About to be four. Yeah, about to be 44. I have a 3-year-old daughter right now,
Oh,
and
wow.
we are just struggling in the city.
So is that because you started having kids late? I'm not sure if you said right now. I don't know if you have older kids and they kind of moved out, but
No, I kind of waited it out. And then it kind of got to the point where it was like, oh my gosh, what if I miss my chance? And it was like, hurry and have a baby kind of a thing. So it was
mm,
just really rushed.
got it, got it. But I hope you have the energy, especially at 3. They do a lot of running. So they do a lot of running. So, but
She does a
they're
lot of
joy.
running. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also autistic.
Oh, okay.
So
Got
she's not talking right now.
got it.
So it's hard to, figure out, okay, why are you crying now? What do you need now? It's just been difficult.
Got it. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that, guys. I'm finding out this information as you're finding it out. And I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get some
Oh,
good
it's nothing.
resources. We'll link down resources down below because we have had guests on the podcast before who have talked about different disabilities and things like that. I will link down stuff down below, and if Tiffany needs anything from us, we could definitely send that over to help her and her baby. Um, yeah, but so she's 3 years old. Are you getting any help for her right now?
I am. New York is great as far as they do offer early intervention when an autistic child is 2.
Right.
So when she hit 2, she got into a classroom setting where she can get therapy and be around other kids. So that was great because that was like my only little break.
Understand.
Yeah. So she did that, and now she's in her next classroom. Now that she hit 3, she aged out of that.
Yeah.
So now she's in preschool for for special needs kids right now.
Oh, that's nice. I wish her the best, to be honest. I wish her the best.
She's improving. It's hard because when you when you see other little kids around her age,
Right.
um, talking to their parents, and they're having conversations.
Right.
They're saying full sentences. It's like wow, but she's just not there yet.
Right.
Um, she's probably said about 5, 6 words. But I just, I heard another autistic parent say that, you pretty much, you have to be there for her. You have to be your cheerleader. And I just kind of remind myself that every day, that, I have to be there for her so she can make it to, this
Right,
better person when she's older.
right. That's the truth. Being a mom, you never stop advocating, no matter if your child's a disability or not, because they're always babies to us, regardless of what age they are, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
some, walks are harder than others. But it's always, being a parent, I think in general, is just a wonderful thing. They give you so much joy, and they can give you so much stress also. They're like, but why did you do that? Why did you decide to put a pencil in your mouth? And you're
I know, I know.
why is a bead up your nose? Was that a great pencil with that? Um, but being a mom is such a joy. It comes with so much, problems at times, but I think the joy honestly outweighs that. And it sounds like you're being a good mom for your daughter, so that's good.
Thank you.
Yes. Are you working right now, or are you just,
Right now, well, no. I'm kind of looking for something really flexible to do from home.
right,
Me and my daughter were in the shelter, actually. We
right,
lived in the shelter for exactly a year almost.
mm,
And I was lucky enough to get, housing. So when we moved in, and we haven't been here too long, but I'm still kind of getting used to her new schedule because we just got her in her new school, and just kind of scoping things out, I guess.
I understand. So, since you put up the shelter, well, obviously, the podcast is about shelter life and things like that and families in New York City. Well, honestly, anywhere in the US at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because we opened it up like 2 years ago. And can you tell me if you can remember? It shouldn't be that far back, but how did you end up in the shelter, and how did you find about like going to shelter?
Well, it's funny because I never pictured myself ever needing to go.
Right.
When I was pregnant, I thought I was going to have it all figured out. I
Uh,
did have a job at the time, and I told my job, I was going to go on leave when I was going to have the baby.
right.
But I started looking for an apartment. I was living with a roommate at the time. And of course,
Mm,
I needed to move out to have more space. I started looking for an apartment, and I just realized I just didn't make enough. As far as they needed a certain amount of times the rent they wanted you to make,
right.
and your credit score.
Right.
I just I've been rejected so many times by New York landlords, and I would look and look and look, and my price point was out of the ballpark. Um, was too low. Was too low. I would speak to realtors and say, well, I was kind of hoping for an apartment around $1,500 or under, and they would laugh at me.
Oh, wow.
So affordable housing in New York, of course, everybody knows, really,
Right.
it's a huge problem. If there was just more of it, if people could find an apartment for 15 or maybe even a little bit under, maybe the problem wouldn't be so bad. But I would look around, and apartments are averaging closer to 2,000 a month. I
Right.
couldn't do that because that's pretty much what I brought home with the job that I had, after taxes and after all of the administrative fees and everything that the job took out. And I
Right.
was like, the only way I could make anything swing is if I did a lot of overtime.
Right.
And I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, great. So if I work all this overtime after paying a babysitter, it just felt like I was going in circles.
Right.
And the young kids say, the math isn't mathing.
Uh-huh. I hate it too. I'm like, I'm not young
It
anymore, but
wasn't working out. It was not working out in my head. I was like, there's no way. I knew I was gonna do this single, kind of mid pregnancy. I kind of figured that out. So it was like,
right.
whatever, I'm just gonna make it work.
Right.
It just There was just almost no way. I even imagined, I'm like, okay, what if I moved to a cheaper city? And their rates went up too.
Yeah, it has.
So in the middle of all of this, the roommate I'm staying with, turns out he lost his car. He was a taxi driver, lost his car.
Mm.
Turns out he stopped paying rent.
What?
He stopped paying rent on the apartment.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm paying him my half.
No.
I thought I had a stable place to live. We've never had I lived with him for 5 years. This was strictly a roommate situation.
Right.
And we always did great, no problems. So I'm paying him, and then he confesses to me, I have not been paying rent. I'm $10,000 behind.
Oh no.
Mind you, this is COVID time.
Right.
So he goes, oh, don't worry. They won't even, with COVID, they're not even going to get to us anytime soon.
Right.
Anyway, so I mean, COVID did allow some time to where we could kind of just be in the apartment, but it wasn't a situation where you're just happy. You're
Right.
stressed at all times
Right.
because we knew the landlord wanted us out. The super gave me nasty looks. I just wasn't able to be happy and comfortable because I knew I couldn't be there long term.
Right.
So it was a stressful situation. And, my daughter was born. I brought her back to that apartment. I was not expecting that. I thought I was going to have my own place by then.
Right.
So it's fine. I'm like, I'm going to make it work. He even helped, kind of clean up my room to make it look more, put up more baby stuff.
Right.
And we got home, and a few months into her being born, I forget what age it was, but eventually the court system did catch up.
Right. Right.
Eventually they did. Maybe my daughter was maybe, oh yeah, she was over a year old at the time. So they caught up with us. And, the landlord wanted us out so bad. He made us this great offer. He waived all of his fees. He said, I'll do all of this, but I just want both of you out.
Wow.
So I was like, I needed to go anyway. The place was a mess. I really didn't want to take it over.
Right.
So I was like, we had to go. Basically, we had to go. Both of us, we had to go. It was just a sticky situation. Long story short, I ended up getting a storage unit, putting away stuff that was important to me that I didn't want to just throw away. Like it got down to the point where I couldn't afford movers.
Right.
So I just got a storage unit, put some stuff in there, and on the last day where the paper said you have to be out this day,
Right.
me and my roommate, we shook hands, and I took a cab to Path in the
Oh, you had
Bronx.
cab money. Okay.
Right. I was so grateful I did. With the stroller, and I'm trying to carry at least 2 big bags worth of clothes and stuff. So, what I had was heavy. And so I go to Path, and I go to Path in the afternoon, me not knowing better. Super long line. I mean, super long line. People are literally sitting on the floor. They look so depressed. Everyone looks depressed, hot, just sad. Nobody, everyone's just, it's a mess. So remember, my daughter's autistic.
Right.
So I start to stand in this line, and she starts getting impatient
Right.
and anxious, and she starts pulling at the dividers, the cords, and I start to have a panic attack. Like, I'm not going to make it through this line with her. I'm not going to make it through this line because I knew it was going to take hours because people are pretty much sleeping on the floor at this point.
Right.
I'm like,
Especially in the
this is not this.
afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, in the afternoon, I'm like, this is not good. I'm having a panic attack. I beg one of the workers. I said, I will show you her paperwork, but if you could do something, because we're just not going to make this long line. I was like, my daughter's artistic. She's not going to make it. Please, please, please. I'm begging them. I'm telling them, I was like, I will dig through my duffel bag and get her paperwork. And the guy says, I'll see what I can do. And just walks off.
Wow. Did he come back at least?
He came back probably about 10 minutes later, I kind of gave
Oh
up.
my gosh.
I was like, he's just like, whatever. He comes back and he goes, hey, come out of line. I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
that's
So
good.
he puts me in a chair all the way to the front with this other heavily pregnant woman.
Mm.
And I felt so bad for her because she looked like she was going to give birth. Like she could have given, she looked like she could have given birth right then and there.
Right,
And her head was just, you can tell the girl was just so tired and she had to go
right,
through the homeless process.
right,
So, I'm sitting right next to her in front. And then I start the paperwork and, they send you, then you have to wait a few more hours
right.
for transport. At that point, I did consider, I was like, do I have enough money for a cab?
Oh my gosh.
Because they were taking hours
It
and
do take hours.
my daughter was going nuts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Bronx and I needed to go to Harlem. I was like, okay, do I have enough for a cab? I really didn't. So I'm trying to wait it out and I'm hoping she goes to sleep, and she did not.
Oh man.
So finally the bus comes. The guy is just like super rude. I'm asking him to help me with the stroller in the back. He just opens the door, walks right back up to the front. He's like,
Mm.
so whatever. I'm like, you know what? I got to figure this out. So, I'm trying to throw up the stroller because I really can't let go of her hand. She doesn't respond to her name
Right.
or pretty much any simple demand. So if I say, oh, stand right there, that's just not going to happen. She's going to be all over the place. So I had to figure all of that out anyway. And then they got me to my shelter. Um, thank goodness they found me eligible.
On
I
the
didn't know
first
about that.
time. That's
Yeah,
good.
about that process about how you have to be found eligible to stay. I was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, imagine the poor girls that, they tell you you're not eligible to be there
It's
and you have
annoying.
to.
Trust
That happened to you?
a couple of times. I was there pregnant. I went there a couple of times when I was pregnant. I think the last time I went when I was like 8 months pregnant or so. And they denied me several times. And then
Wow.
I went after when I was couch surfing for a while, then I got in a room for 11 months, and then me and the lady didn't get along. So I asked her, the only way I can get in is by you evicting me. So I wanted to leave. I thought it was dangerous to stay there. She was not the greatest person. She'll come in your room and get like, it's horrible. But I couldn't leave because the shelter would not let me in. So I had to stay somewhere where it
Right.
was not good. And then the police officer was like, you need to, like, I asked officers, what can I do? They said you could write up something against her, but the problem is that she's a family member of somebody I'm very close to. So I didn't want to do that because she's related, but I could have, because she did many things in that apartment where it was actually, I think some things could be harmless to my daughter. And I didn't like that. And she'll just, like, when I'm not there, she'll just come in, and I know she'll come in because I find things on the floor was not there. At first I thought it
Oh
was just
wow.
me forgetting things. And I thought it was going crazy. Like, example, I had like soap, dishwashing soap, and detergent and all these stuff in the front of my bed because my room is very small, but I have a lot of stuff in general, and I had stuff in storage like you did. And one day I came in the room, happened a couple of times, and I see it on the floor, and it looked like Dawn dish soap, and I'm like, how did this happen? So I'm cleaning it up. The next day, same thing happening. I'm like, I'm not going. I cleaned it up. The next day again, it happened. So I'm like, I'm confused. How is this happening to me? I'm looking at the bottles to make sure there's no holes in it because the apartments had rats. So, but I didn't know that at the time. But I'm saying that in hindsight because I didn't find out about it like months later. But I'm like, what's happening? Like, is it leaking and I'm just not realizing it? And I didn't know she had a key for my room at one point either. So that's a thing. I found out that she had a
Oh
key for my
yeah.
room. I should have probably realized that, but I didn't know that till like months later. And then I'm like, no, I didn't put this stuff in bags. And when I started putting them in bags, it stopped happening. Because I think she realized like, oh, I can't look like she did it.
Yeah.
Or
She's on
after
to
a
me.
while. I'm like, it was just so freaky. I'm like, every day though. I don't know if she wanted me to go in and fall. I don't know why she did that. I don't know if she wanted me to waste my money. I'm not really sure what the problem was, but I'm not gonna say I'm the 100% the greatest tenant in the world. Some things I did mess up on. Um, but also we're not related. People, I think it's hard to live with people in general who's not in your actual family, and even living with
Yeah.
family can be a push for some
Mm-hmm.
people. And I think living with people for myself, other than my own kids, I'm like, go somewhere else. I grew up with living people in and out my house all the time. I hated it, but I also lived in a house, so it's much different than living in on one floor in an apartment and there's 3 bedrooms. You know, I live in a house and there's 5 bedrooms in the house. There's three, yeah, I guess 4 bedrooms in a basement, so it's, I could call it 5. Um, so we had 3 different levels. If you don't want to be in the top floor, you could be at the bottom. Like I had plenty of room to go to, and I usually like after a certain age, I had my own room, so it was much easier to do. We had 3 bathrooms. In this apartment, we had 1 bathroom. They would rush to the bathroom, so I wouldn't go in there with my kid. Mind you, I have my kid and all my appliances. So it's like as they hear me move, they're running to the bathroom, so I wouldn't get in there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the people are older than I am, so I'm like, one of the ladies, I think it was 60. There was a mom and her daughter. I think she's about her 60s or 50s. I'm like, are y'all too old for this? And it was just like, and because of that, I'll
Yeah.
take showers at night. Like I'll take them really late, and they'll complain that I'm taking it late. But I'm like, but you're forcing me to take it this late. You're forcing me to be in the kitchen after 12 doing these things. Granted, anybody who knows me. I know I'm talking very fast, guys. I'm sorry. Anybody who knows me, I'm a night out in general. So I don't mind staying up late. But if I can avoid going to taking a shower at 11 at night, I would. But they would, I don't know what it is. It was just like they would always rush to the bathroom when they hear me coming up. And it was just very, very weird. I'm like, y'all are really too old for this.
Yeah,
So
that's
and
weird.
then and then they will complain to the family member saying, oh, I'm being this horrible person, I'm doing this. I'm like, but y'all not telling the whole story though. Y'all not telling the whole story why the certain things are happening. Why am I taking a shower late? And then they try to tell me to take a shower in the morning. I can't go to bed unless I'm taking a shower. I take
Okay.
usually 1 shower a day, 2 in the summertime. Usually, if it's too hot, I'm taking another shower. I'm taking 2 showers. But I usually take my shower
Mm-hmm.
at night so I can sleep much better. I cannot go outside with the New York City grime and dirt on me. I know how people do it, go in their bed with. I don't even go on my couches with the grime on me. So, like, I don't wear street clothes on my furniture in my house. So I can imagine having my all day New York City skin in my bed. Like that don't make sense.
New York City
Like,
skin.
like that don't make sense to me. But I'm like,
Yeah,
it is
the
what it is.
pollution.
But it was hard. They really deny you for certain things. When you're first going in the system, they really don't explain, I feel like, properly what the whole thing is. So you think you're giving everything in, and when they come like, oh, yeah, not eligible. And it's sad because it can go on for like a year or two for you not
Wow.
being eligible for the shelter, which is ridiculous to me, so
Yeah,
it's
I,
very
I remember
frustrating.
being super nervous about it. I
Yeah,
was, I was almost sick. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this comes back? But thankfully, I didn't have to go through that though. But you went through it.
I did. I want. Thank you for coming to the end of the podcast. I hope you listened this far. I hope you're learning something from the podcast, guys. I do have a question, and I put it at the end of the last the segment of this. But if you had one thing that you would like to change about shelter, right? What would that one thing be, and why? If you could definitely follow us on Twitter and maybe Facebook. I think that's the only places you could really comment something like that and it makes sense. I think Instagram will be too much for you to look in stuff. But if you go on Twitter and write on our page saying what it is and things like that, we would love that. See you next time. Bye.